Today we're going to be going over the future behind Wubbox, and you guys want to stay tuned today as I have some pretty wacky ideas towards how Wubbox could potentially be made really cool. You guys thinking about epic Wubbox? Let's actually go into how you guys might be able to get that kind of concept even quicker with the next few Wubboxes. When I'm on about the future behind Wubbox, though, what exactly am I on about? Well, I'm on about the future of this thing beyond the natural and fire islands, as those are the only islands that we know of Wubbox to be on right now, and therefore I'm talking specifically about the magical island. So in order to go over the future behind Wubbox, I think first of all we have to discuss, should Wubbox return on these islands? Wubbox is the only box-it monster that we've ever known inside of the game, so once I go ahead and say maybe we should get something else, of course it's going to be a little speculative, as everyone loves Wubbox, it's everywhere, and if you literally type in Mousey Monsters, that is the first thing that anyone is going to find. And it's easy fan service too, people love the thing, so bringing it to more islands, it makes sense. However, Wubbox has actually been on a lot of islands at this point. The magical islands were each created so that unique monsters could inhabit each one, and actually if we go back to the history behind the magical islands, they were originally supposed to be fire islands. They were made into magical islands so that new monster species could come along, so countering this by adding Wubbox I don't think really makes much sense when the islands themselves were created in the first place to have these original monsters beyond them. So therefore I think it makes a lot more sense for these magical islands to have new classes, new monsters, and to embrace the thing that the magical islands were created for in the first place. Supernaturals, we've not seen any new ones ever since the Wubblins, so adding some new ones would be a really hot take I think, and I'm really liked inside of the community. Wubbox is the only box-it monster, and seeing something else beyond that too would be really cool. It'd get out of all the islands potentially feeling a bit samey, and honestly, if we're going back to the lore behind the Wubboxes themselves were created for the Colossals to be able to live on, as the actor's life support so that the Colossals can continue acting as the neurons. Therefore, it doesn't really make sense for Wubbox to be traveling over to the Titans when Wubbox wasn't made for them. It just doesn't make sense inside of the lore. Now, I've had the hot take that Wubbox should not return to the magical islands for a long time, and I'm gonna try and board you guys on my same wavelength today. But in order to do this, I think we need to first of all go over what on earth do I think that these boxic monsters should be on the magical island. But going back to how I think the supernatural class expanding on that would be really cool, I think we need a new subspecies. We've got as Wubblins, we've got as Wubbox, but what we ain't got is another Wub class. So in order to advance on the supernaturals, we need to see something else, and all the supernaturals, if we're going back to them, have a story intertwined with them. They're all linked towards the aspect of being created. Galvana created Wubbox, Wubbox created the Wubblins, they're all intertwined here. So the lore should tie into these new box-it monsters. And tying back to Wubbox's lore, and now we're going on about some new box-it monsters. We've seen all of Wubbox's creations, but you know what we have not seen? We have not seen Galvana's creations. So I say, let's see the prototype Wubboxes, a brand new subspecies of the supernatural class, the Experimentos, and you know what? For that reason, we're gonna nickname them the Wubbotos today, standing for prototype Wubboxes. Alright, that's a good deal, I say. The almighty class. But how do these Wubbotos fit in, and what kind of story do they have? Well, before we go over that, make sure to hit that like button, guys, as it sure does help. Now, the idea that I have in mind behind these Wubbotos is that Wubbox was created from steptanium, which is a substance that is ingrained into Wubbox because of its ability to conduct electricity. This was instead of bubble write, which has been used all throughout the monster world for every single monster pretty much up to this point. And given how this is a new material, I would lay my bets on the fact that Galvana's got to have had some attempts into making this thing. It's not going to make this brand new steptanium monster out of the dusk, out of the thin air, seeing as though it was supposed to be the live spot behind the Colossals, and there was a lot riding on this, and it had never been done before. They've got to have experimented to have made out that best way in order for the neuron to act inside of the colossal spirits. And each experiment, as it continued to fail, my idea behind how these could fit into the magical islands is that Galvana could have potentially reworked them in order to suit the magical islands. If we go back to Dawn of Fire, you may see the Glub Pole. And inside of My Singing Monsters, we see that this evolves into the Glubber, which is the Water Island Titan for the Water Island skin. However, with these evolutions, it's not really really explained how it happened. And something we have never explored inside of the monster world is the Titan's backstory. We have the backstory behind Wubbox. We have the backstory behind the Naturals, the Ethereals. We have so much backstory, the Dream Mythicals, but we don't have any backstory behind the Titans. And the magical islands are so mysterious. I want to know some more about them. So my idea is that Galvana could have substituted these experiments when they'd failed to substitute themselves as helping the Titans evolve into the species that we see in the modern day. So when you have Phosphor, Necrol, all of these would have evolved from smaller species like the Glubpole. And thanks to these new Wubboto monsters, they were able to evolve and become the Titans that we know today, so that they could traverse the monster world. And we could finally get some backstory behind these things, because my word, these things have no backstory and the Colossals have everything. Finally, let's give a little bit to the Titans for once, and move on and evolve from these static, immovable, unevolved forms like the Glubpole, and explain how the other ones might have evolved too, as it does look like that would be the case. It would also mean that we'd have another fail-safe that Galvana could have put in place in case that the Wubbox didn't work out and the Colossal Spirits could have been maintained. And the biggest thing for me to take away from this is that we could finally see monsters that Galvana has created besides Wubbox. It's always been said that it creates monsters, but we've only seen Wubbox, so this would be their chance to finally do that. Now, what are we talking here, though? We're talking, as we've been over a new Boxit monster pair Magical Island, we're talking about it working like the Wubbox, it requiring all the magical and natural monsters on the island, but we're also talking this being a step up from Epic Wubbox. We have the Wubbox, and I think the real fantasy behind these for me is getting the Epic Wubbox kind of variant at first, so that it substitutes for each island rather than having to wait for it for Epic Wubbox or whatever. Let's do it first thing and then make maybe the rares and epics that might come later of these forms even more cool. Embracing them for every single island, new designs, sounds, names, making them unique monsters, yet still encapsulating those Wubbox elements, as we need to still have that Wubbox inspiration inside of it, as we need some stuff that makes Wubbox amazing in the first place, while still being different. So to be like Wubbox, we're talking about some creatively designed limbs to allow for them animations to feel more alive and expressive, them large mouths that you see on Wubbox, goofy, comical, over the top, all of that inside of this. The sounds made through the movement, the actions, and expressions rather than an instrument. For example, you have Shrubble, plays its harp, lovely, we love that. But for the Wubboxes, they don't do that. They play from the animations, don't they? And there's also not a chance that the dubstep is not going to be used for these. We're obviously going to see dubstep too. However, with these, I think it would be cool if we delve into different styles of dubstep, as there's not just electronic dubstep that we've seen, there's all kinds of different styles that haven't really been used in the game before. So seeing these could be just what we need to distinguish the sound out from these monsters and make them unique. And because they're unsuccessful and they're unstable, the experiments, I've been thinking that the old rubber hose animation style could really help out with these and be perfect for these monsters. Something that I really love behind Wubbox is how it has really dramatic varying poses, and to impose that even more, I think having a rubber hose animation style and making these even more over the top would be really cool, especially seeing as though these are going to have different forms. I think it's really integral that we hold on to the feeling of Wubbox behind these. Like Spinel from Steven Universe, if you guys know that, that was animated in the rubber hose animation style. It was always changing inside of the film and feeling experimental, wacky, the kind of stuff that you want from a Wubbox. And therefore, based on this, I've come up with transformation-based ideas for every single island, so you guys can know what to expect, and we can make out how these could be wubtastic. Yes, I did have to get the Wubbox put in there. So first of all, we have Bone Island. For Bone Island, I'm thinking it being dark and shadowy. A cave-dwelling creature with a dark and shadowy nature. This one, to fit the Bone Island theme, it could slip through the floor I was thinking at the end of its sound and spring onto the surface before its sound plays, meaning it would actually go underground, which is where Bone Island is located. This monster, seen as though we are on Bone Island, I was thinking it could have unstable bones that snap and actually dislocate dislocate. A bit of an aggressive action here, but we've got to pull out all the stops here for Wubbox. So it forms constant over-the-top jittery poses. We went over how they've got to be insanely exaggerated, these poses, but for this Wubboto, you got to have even more exaggerated, super wacky poses. More of that wubtastic action that we love. And you might be wondering, why does it slip through the floor? Why is it going underground? Okay, Bone Island is underground. But actually, this goes back to how it was failed in the first place. As soon as its body is constantly dislocating, it has to go underground in order for itself to recover in the first place. And for what this Wubboto could look like on Bone Island, I asked Rals to draw my ideas into action here. So we have a dislocating variant here and our first Wubboto design. This has been very carefully crafted so that it still represents all of the exaggeration that we might come to expect from the Wubbox class, whilst also being a brand new species. On this, you can see Monculus-like hands. They're held together and stitched by bubble right. You can see to the floor there, the feet intertwined into the ground, resembling where they come up from the floor, and where they also slide on back down, a bit like to them dipsters. In the center too, you can see its orb, which is coloured red to signify how it's a failed experiment. Smoking out by Galvana that this one did not meet the cause, but also it still is a part of the Wubbox family. Moving on to its Faerie Island one now. I was thinking for this one, it seems as though it's based on mythological creatures. It can be a mythological creature fusion, an amalgam of all mythological creatures from fairy tales. Imagine every single one now and piece them all together like a circus performer. I was thinking it could have huge, energetic, joyful poses. We've had the more dark-sidedness of the Bone Island one. I've got really dark with these, to be honest. And it has dance-like animations, huge feet up in the air singing its way along in the song. You can't imagine anything else for Faerie, though, to be honest, can you? And seeing as though it's the fairy element, we could have some huge wings. I was thinking some fairy ones. Linking back to that fairy element, as I do love those wings on Air Epic Wubbox. Air Island Epic Wubbox is my favourite Epic Wubbox animation, purely because of those wings. So yes, I do want them to return, okay? And I love Nyaher, so a dance-styled Wubbox to link back to Nyaher's animations, and linking back to that would be just bliss. A Wubbox with even more over-the-top styled Nyaher animations, okay? That is all I need to think about right now, as that would be amazing. And for this, let's pull up Ral's design here for this one. We've got hippity hop ears, we've got Torvinat vines, we've got squat bugs, we have the whole ordeal here. And of course, the fairy wings. We also have a rather disturbing appearance once more. We got to captivate on the experimentalness behind these, okay? I know I said this one wasn't going to be too dark, but okay, I'm kind of worried about showing you guys my other ideas now. Anyway, this Faerie Island Wubboto, it failed because Galvana tried to combine the organic parts into an amalgam for this one and infuse them with power by sticking them together with bubble right. It had a singular organic form that it compiled together with the Bone Island one, but this is just a mashup of everything to try and just get it to work, alright? This was their final organic attempt here. Moving on to Psychic Island though now, which features an alien assembly. An alien assembly, you're saying, MPG? Well, allow me to explain. This Psychic Island Wubboto is made of various components that form themselves together in order to create different wacky combos. You imagine anything inside of your mind now, and this one can do it. It pieces itself together like a jigsaw and managed to make out the most insane combinations that you guys have ever seen, and therefore really cool animations on this guy too. Each formation too, it doesn't just lead to a cool design choice for each sound, but it also leads to a different sound. You want percussion? Then get into a percussion form. You want vocals? Then just to call it out to get that mouth on top of it, alright? And we can't have a formation monster that's resembling itself in all these different forms without it having a true form, right? So this one also has a final form. I was thinking where it plays its penultimate sound. All that dubstep and goodness that you guys want, that's where you get it. And for the Psychic Island variant, once again, I asked Rals to put it together. However, we're not going to Rals straight away, as I want to resemble here how the Psychic Island mashups could work, first of all. So first, we have a Reedling that has been pieced together, a Noggin, and a Bogart, resembling how this could compile itself together. Now, I didn't actually think about it resembling monsters. This is completely Ral's idea, and I'll love it to bits. This thing could have the most insane sounds, and I'll love it so much. Just get creative with this thing, monster handlers, and we would love you forever. But here on screen right now is the final design behind this thing. We've got lots of minerals being represented that I asked Ral to put together. So we've got bubble right, new materials that have never been seen before. all disjointed together in this weird formation held by electricity still. Now, this one, though, it is held by electricity still, yes, but also it is held by this black hole in the background here. The black hole moves all of the parts around and makes out its different forms inside of the song. So not only do you have all these twisting, moving body parts inside of it, but you have a black hole there. Yeah, we are going completely creepy. The black hole wasn't actually my idea, it was Ral's, okay? Ral's taking responsibility for this one, love. Well, this one failed because of its constant disassembly. It can't maintain its final form, and that's why it switches through all of these different ones trying to piece itself back together inside of the song. That's the idea behind it that I had. Due to it being made from lots of different materials, this thing, it can barely hold itself together, and it completely fits that space theme with the black hole too there. Absolutely well done here, I do think, from Rouse with that idea. But now we've been over the 3 magical islands. Before we go on to his final one, I want to say there has been an increase in the epicness that I think you guys have noticed across these. I've been gradually building them up, and the reason behind that is because I feel like escalating these Wubboto designs would be much appreciated. Now, I started off with Bone, because Bone, I feel like, is the one that least needs it, and then we've generally worked his way up here to ones that need it most, as I think Psychic and Light need it the most inside of the song, and therefore I think having the most final Wubbox designs, I thought, would be a pretty cool idea for this, as those are ones that have got to help out the song a little more, and that's why we also started off with the organic forms. So there's a process here. So Light Island is the closest and last experiment before Wubbox was made. However, this one did not fail for the reasons that you might expect. This one was perfectly able to maintain its electricity. However, it's actually for different reasons that this one managed to fail. And here's a little dark side of this. I'm a bit scared to show you guys, but we're going ahead anyway. People have called me out in the past for saying things like Rare Ostrich should be super dark, but I'm doing it again, alright? You can't stop me. This is Wubbox. It could be really cool if we made it dark. From its many unsuccessful attempts, Galvana, in the end, it went, oh, I've had enough. I'm gonna go ahead and go back to what the Colossals used in the first place, Bubble Rite. So it infused Bubble Rite with an artificial colossal spirit to try and regulate the electricity to be a colossal neuron inside of this new Wubboto. And it actually managed to do this successfully. The colossal spirit that Galvana created and placed in it, an artificial robot-like one, it worked absolutely amazingly, and it managed to do all of the electricity stuff needed for a neuron of this colossal. And this spirit, it isn't just dormant like the colossal spirits inside of the island. Actually, this ghost companion rotates around Light Island Wubboto. And as it comes out and emerges from the Wubboto, from out of nowhere like ghosts do, just popping it out into the air from its Wubboto companion, then this ghost companion triggers a change inside of the Light Island Wubboto. From its calm, rather unactive state, it then begins to have a flow of electricity through it. Its eyes turn red and it glows, and its demeanor becomes psychopathic. It starts making wild, unexpected movements and emits an ominous, dark dubstep sound. Now, I know this sounds quite ridiculous, but I really wanted to make this really dark because I feel like this could end up being one of the fan favorites if there was one this dark. Five Nights at Freddy's level here, I know, but we're going for it. The ghost companion, however, once the sound is finished, if frightened by the red demeanor of this Wubbox, moves away, and this causes the monster to revert to its more calm state at the end of its sound. Now, before we pull up Ral's design here, I just want to say, Ral's, we love you very dearly. This was all my idea, okay, to make it very dark themed. So here we have the amazing Light Island design and the artificial spirit that you guys can see to the side. This is very mechanical. It's a darkened version of Bubble Rite, and you can see this absolutely beaming with horror vibes. We have the nylon-looking sticks arising from its mouth and a cracked eye. This thing is maximum horror. And Rouse, I love you forever for making my dreams come true with this. They thought my ideas were dark, and I have to agree. This one absolutely did fail just because of its evil nature when it awakens. And now when we come to how this one failed, I have put this off because I feel like you guys are gonna come for me again. But it failed due to its isolationist nature. This one, it didn't like the electric flow inhabited by the colossal spirit, and it felt very discontented by its companion. A little like to Squat, how that companionship isn't necessarily one formed out of friendship. This one, its ghost companion, it doesn't really like what it does does to its body. So it gets evil, it gets out there, and it's a rather isolationist monster thanks to this. Not necessarily therefore able to control itself when inhabited by the electricity, making itself out to be an unsuccessful monster. I hope that maybe I've changed you guys' mind, potentially on the Wubboxes, and what we could get out of the magical islands, as I feel like the Wubboxes on these islands could be so much more. Let's not wait for the epic Wubboxes this time around, let's have them from the get-go and have really cool monsters. If you guys enjoyed my rather dark take on these Wubboxes, my word, I've had so much fun putting these ideas together. Please do make sure to go and check out this Faerie video here for some more Faerie stuffs. I will see you later as I'm in my lair conducting all of these dark schemes for the game. I'll see you guys later in the afterlife. Oh no, what am I doing? Okay, bye guys.